private room in an Ohio nursing home runs approximately $9,000 to $11,000 a month, according to the Genworth and CareScout Cost of Care Survey. That is every 30 days, not every year. A 3-year stay, which is within the range many residents experience, can run somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. That is often more than the house is worth. It is usually more than what remains in the retirement account. And it is what many Ohio families face when they did not see it coming. If you have a parent in their 70s or 80s, or if you are nearing those years yourself, this is the conversation most Ohio families wish they had started 5 years before they needed it. I'm Andrew C. Goodwin, the principal attorney at Rhodium Law. Having served as the primary caregiver for my mother for over 5 years, I know what it looks like to be the adult child holding the family together while also trying to figure out what Medicare covers, what Medicaid requires, and who has the authority to make a medical decision for someone who could no longer make it themselves. I know what it looks like when none of that was planned for, and I know what it looks like when it was. That is why this topic carries weight for me beyond the legal work. The questions Ohio families face here are not abstract for me. My own family taught me how much hangs on the planning that was done or that was not. Let me give you the actual cost picture for long-term care in Ohio, because most families don't know these numbers until they are inside the crisis. Home care. If you bring non-medical help into the home, the Genworth and CareScout Cost of Care Survey generally shows a range of roughly $25 to $35 per hour in Ohio, depending on the region and the type of care. For a person who needs 20 hours a week of assistance, that is roughly $2,000 to $3,000 per month. For someone who needs full-time care around the clock, the cost can approach or exceed a nursing home. Assisted living. Ohio assisted living facilities typically run somewhere between $4,500 and $6,500 per month, according to industry surveys. That range moves with the facility, the city, and the level of care provided. Nursing home, semi-private room. A semi-private room in an Ohio skilled nursing facility averages roughly $7,500 to $9,500 per month in the Genworth and CareScout survey data. Nursing home, private room. The private room average is approximately $9,000 to $11,000 per month. In the Cleveland and Columbus markets, costs may run higher. Memory care. For residents living with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, memory care units typically add somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per month on top of assisted living or skilled nursing costs based on industry survey data. These numbers shift over time, and the direction they generally move is one way. And here is the piece that surprises most Ohio families. Medicare does not cover this. Under federal law, Medicare provides coverage for up to approximately 100 days of skilled rehabilitation care following a qualifying hospital stay. Long-term custodial care, which is what most nursing home and assisted living residents need, is a different category. After those 100 days, you are paying out of pocket through a long-term care insurance policy or through Medicaid if you qualify. Most families assume Medicare will handle it. It will not. There are really only 4 ways an Ohio family pays for long-term care. Every planning strategy I will describe in the rest of this video fits inside one of these 4. Option 1, private pay. You write checks until the money runs out. For most Ohio households, the typical runway before a retirement account is depleted and the house becomes the next conversation is somewhere between 12 and 36 months. Private pay is how most families start, even if they did not choose it as a strategy. Option 2, long-term care insurance. If you bought a policy years before the care event, it can cover a meaningful portion of the cost, depending on the terms. Long-term care insurance has become more expensive and harder to qualify over the past decade, but for families who purchase early, it is often the most direct funding source. If you are evaluating coverage for the first time, please work with a qualified insurance agent who can review your situation and explain what coverage realistically looks like at your age and health profile. Option 3, Medicaid. Medicaid is the federal state program that pays for long-term care for eligible Ohio residents with limited assets and income. Ohio Medicaid will pay for nursing home care for those who qualify, but Medicaid carries strict eligibility rules, including an asset limit, an income limit, and a 5-year look back on prior transfers. We will spend real time on that look back in the next section because it is the part most families do not understand until it is too late. Option 4, veterans benefits. If you or your spouse served in the military, VA benefits, and specifically the aid and attendance benefit, can help cover long-term care costs under certain qualifying circumstances. This benefit is meaningfully underutilized in Ohio. If there is a veteran in your family, it is worth finding out whether it applies. Most Ohio families end up drawing from more than one of these 4. The question that matters most is whether that combination was planned or whether it was improvised during the crisis. Of everything I discussed when a family is thinking about long-term care planning, the Medicaid 5-year look-back is the concept that changes the most faces in the room. Here's what it is. Under federal Medicaid rules, specifically 42 USC Section 1396P, when you apply for Ohio Medicaid long-term care coverage, the state examines the last 5 years of your financial history. Any asset you transferred out of your name during that 5-year period, whether that is a gift to a child, a transfer into a trust, a sale below fair market value, or putting the house into your kids' names, is subject to scrutiny. If the state concludes that the transfer was made to reduce your assets for the purpose of qualifying for Medicaid, they can impose a penalty period. During that penalty period, you are not eligible for benefits, even if you would otherwise qualify. The length of the penalty period is calculated based on the value of what was transferred. That has 2 consequences for Ohio families. First, the advice so many families have received to simply put the house in their children's names can backfire seriously if Medicaid is any part of the long-term care plan. I hear this often. A well-meaning neighbor, a family friend, sometimes even a professional who does not work in this area tells a parent to transfer the house to the kids before something happens. But if that transfer happens inside the 5-year look-back window, it can create a penalty period that leaves an elder without full Medicaid coverage at the moment they need it most. It often creates capital gains tax complications for the child who receives the property. In most scenarios I have seen, it is not the right protective move. The second, meaningful Medicaid planning, the kind that actually works, generally has to begin more than 5 years before any anticipated care event. If you are planning proactively, your options are real. If you are planning after the crisis begins, most of the tools that would have protected your assets are no longer fully available. I want to say something clearly because I say it to every family I sit with. I am not telling you whether you should or should not pursue Medicaid planning. That is a decision for your specific situation, and it carries moral and family considerations that go beyond your legal strategy. Some families decide that Medicaid planning is the right path. Some decide it is not. That decision is not mine to make for you. What I'm telling you is that the rules exist and the window to act is measured in years, not months. So what does it actually look like to plan ahead for long-term care? Here's the general shape of it. Step 1, an honest assessment of where you are. How much do you have? What is liquid? What is not? What is your income picture? If you needed care tomorrow, who would step in? This conversation is the one most families avoid, which is also the reason it is the first step. You cannot plan around something you will not look at. Step 2, review your insurance situation. Do you already own a long-term care policy? If so, do you know what it covers? If not, is it still a realistic option? Long-term care insurance is generally most accessible in your early to mid-60s. The older you are when you try to buy it, the harder and more expensive it becomes. Timing matters. A qualified insurance agent can review your existing policies and help you evaluate whether new coverage makes sense given your age, health, and family situation. Step 3, consider whether an asset protection structure makes sense for your situation. For some Ohio families, an irrevocable Medicaid asset protection trust funded more than 5 years before any anticipated care event is a meaningful planning tool. It is designed to move certain assets out of your name in a way that preserves access and benefit during your lifetime while protecting those assets from long-term care costs. This is a specialized instrument. It carries trade-offs, and it is not the right choice for every household. But for Ohio families with real assets who want to plan proactively, it is one of the more significant tools available when used with the necessary lead time. Step 4, make sure your incapacity documents are in place. A durable financial power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, a living will, HIPAA authorization, I covered these in Foundation Video 1, so I will keep this brief here. They are essential in the long-term care context. If you lose the ability to manage your own affairs, the person named in your power of attorney is the one who will navigate the care decisions on your behalf. Without those documents in place, your family may have to go to court to obtain the legal authority to act during the crisis at significant cost in time and money. Step 5. Have the family conversation. This is the step that has the least to do with legal work and the most to do with whether the plan actually holds together. Tell your spouse what the plan is. Tell your adult children. Tell them where the documents are and who has authority to act. Every family I've worked with tells me afterward that they wished the conversation had happened sooner. None of them have ever told me it made things worse. Before I close, I want to address 3 misconceptions I hear regularly from Ohio families on this topic. Misconception 1: Medicare will cover long-term care. It will not. Medicare is designed for acute medical care and short-term skilled rehabilitation. Under federal law, it covers up to approximately 100 days of skilled rehab care following a qualifying hospital stay. Long-term custodial care, the kind that most nursing home and assisted living residents need, sit outside that coverage. After those 100 days, you are paying privately through insurance or through Medicaid if you qualify. Misconception 2: we have too much for Medicaid, so planning does not matter for us. That is rarely accurate, and it is a costly assumption. Ohio families with more assets generally have more long-term care planning options, not fewer. The question is not whether you qualify for Medicaid today. The question is whether you can structure your situation over time, thoughtfully and legally, so that a long-term care event does not dismantle what you spent decades building. The families with real assets have the most to protect. They also generally need to start the earliest. Misconception 3: we can figure it out when the time comes. This is the one I hear most often, and it is the most consequential. By the time the care event arrives, most of the tools that would have protected your family are off the table. You have private pay, you have a crisis Medicaid application with whatever assets you still hold, and you have family members making decisions under pressure and grief at the same time. That is a different situation from the one available to the family that started 5 years earlier. I want to close with something that is not legal analysis. I know what it feels like to be the adult child in the middle of this, to be the person fielding the calls, coordinating the care schedule, trying to figure out whether the benefits are going to hold, whether the documents are in order, whether the plan that was supposed to exist actually exists. I know that feeling because I lived it. And I know the difference between living it with a plan underneath you and living it without one. The version with a plan is not without grief. It's not without difficulty. But it is a fundamentally different kind of difficulty. When the documents are in place, the person named in the power of attorney can act. When the protection structure was started years before, the assets it was designed to protect are protected. When the family conversation happened, nobody is guessing what their parent would have wanted. They know, because someone said it out loud when there was still time. The version without a plan is harder in ways that are completely preventable. And the window between those two versions, the window that is still open for you or your family right now, closes earlier than anyone expects. The plan you make in good health secures the order your family inherits in hard times. That is the work. That is what we do at Rhodium Law. And it is the work I built this practice to do for Ohio families. If this was useful, subscribe. We publish a new video each week to educate Ohio families on estate planning so they can make informed decisions before it is too late. One last thing, I am an attorney, but watching this video does not make me your attorney. This video is general information and does not constitute legal advice. Medicaid eligibility, look-back analysis, and care planning are highly individualized. Eligibility rules change. The right path depends on your specific facts, and that conversation belongs with a qualified Ohio attorney who can look at them with you. Always remember, the best estate plan is the one you finish correctly before it is needed. Strategize, secure, shine. I'll see you soon.